Got the music. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us every Sunday at 5 o'clock. Honestly, we really do appreciate your support, your comments. Thank you so much. And let me say, so in fact, last night I was doing my show with the Global Power 7, and somebody texted me and said to me, Leslie, you've done a really nice introduction. But I know your name, but you didn't introduce yourself. You didn't say Leslie. So before I forget, because I nearly did then, my name is Leslie O'Connor, and I am with the Real Table Talk, Karen Cruz and Marcia Hilton. Ladies, would you like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Karen Cruz. I don't know what else to say. Hi.
Oh, and I'm Marcia Hilton, and obviously part of the Real Table Talk. Yes.
And we have, as you can see, a special guest with us today. And Karen is going to introduce our guest. So take it away, Karen. Let's hear all about our guest.
Nice one. So hi, everybody. People have started to say hello already, and they're all logging on, so that's really good. So this is Dwaine Martin. So let me just read you a little bit about Dwaine. So Dwaine had an interest in investing from a very young age and attended his first seminar age 13. Nice one. We need to know about that.
Yeah. And
then continuously read and learned more and more over the years. He bought his first investment property age 18.
Wow.
Need to know about that.
Amazing, yeah.
While serving in the British Army. Need to know about that. And he continued to invest in property, stocks and shares, both in the UK and overseas. And using that vast experience, he became qualified as a mortgage advisor with the aim of helping people to obtain their dream or first home or investment property. He then qualified in specialist areas such as equity release. And as if that wasn't enough, he then decided to become even more qualified to enable him to give holistic financial advice as a qualified and certified financial advisor. And he's now, wait for it, the principal of his own wealth management firm, Dwaine Martin Financial Planning.
Yay!
Thank you.
Wow, well done. That sounds amazing.
Loads of things to ask. So,
a lot of questions, yeah.
Yeah, welcome to the Madhouse, Dwaine, and I will be picking up any questions that our audience have. People are already saying, wow. So let's go.
Yeah. We've got to start from 13. What was the interest at 13?
Yeah, so I think, to be fair, it started before that. So I always was interested in sort of saving. So even as a kid, I'd get pocket money and I wouldn't really spend it. I'd save a portion of it. And I realized that rather than spending it on that same day, I could save it and get something better. So rather than buying sweets, I could get a toy that I wanted if I waited 3 weeks. So the idea of saving and getting better things sort of came from a young age. And then I was looking into how do I make more money, because I want more nice things at that age, obviously, as you do. So yeah, I looked into like property and stocks and shares. I just started reading, and then there was a seminar. It was in York. It was in the Evening Post. My mum got the Evening Post out every week, and I read it. I found it. I cut it out. My mum was like, "You can't go to that. You're 13. Like, there's no way you can go to York on your own. It's not gonna happen." So I begged for like a week. Please let me go. Please let me go. And eventually, she kind of gave in, and she's like, "Okay, I'll let you go, but you have to get a taxi from here to the train station. Like, I'll give you a note in your pocket so you're safe, and then taxi to the venue and all sort of stuff." But going there, I learned a lot. Obviously, I couldn't use anything, but I learned about investing in different areas in different ways. So it was a massive eye opener, and I just carried on. I was sort of I think I looked daft. I wore a suit when I was 13, so I probably looked a bit stupid. But I learned a massive amount from that. I just kept learning from there. But yeah, I think it was something probably from my parents. They worked hard. So I always noticed that, and I always wanted to kind of follow in their footsteps and work hard and be successful. So that was the beginnings of it. Yeah.
Nice. Were you the only 13-year-old there?
Yeah, 100%.
What did they
In a
say
s-
when you rocked up then? What happened?
I think they were just kind of surprised a little bit, like I was expecting you'll come to a seminar about property, but then I think they just got on with it. So I just took a
Oh,
seat and I
wow.
was making notes, and it was complex stuff, but it opened more doors for me, because the way he spoke, I was like, wow, I didn't know that was possible. So the guy on that day kind of opened my mind to there's so much more things you can do. I just kind of delved more and more into it and just learned more and more. But yeah, it was a bit of a, thinking back, when I was there, I thought I looked quite cool in a suit at 13, but thinking back, it's probably a bit of a silly look, but yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And you went into the army. What was
I
that?
did, yeah. Yeah, so I did that 5.5 years. It was, to be fair, it was amazing. So at the time, a lot of things you do, you think, why am I doing this? This is like crazy. So I went to Iraq, Afghanistan, Falklands, Germany, all over the world, and you're traveling and doing a lot of things you never do in normal life. So it is good, but there also are a lot of bad points as well. And it is tough, and a lot of people don't come out either alive or in one piece. So it is hard, but you do learn a lot from it, and discipline, and a lot of things that I've brought into business after that. It's been amazing. So yeah, I would definitely do it again. I learned tons and tons and tons of stuff there. So it was really beneficial for me, massively.
Wow.
Did you have a gun? I know that's a really silly question. Sorry,
Yeah. yeah, we had a few different ones. Yeah.
Wow.
So did you have to do those things where you had to pull it all down and then you have X amount of time to fit it all back up again? Did you do all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, with your eyes closed and all sorts. Yeah, you do a lot.
Right.
Everything you see in the movies are not very realistic in terms of war and fighting, but when you see training, it's pretty realistic. So people shouting, assault courses, shooting guns, all that sort of stuff is pretty normal. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But it's tough. It's tough, but it's good. It is good.
Yeah.
I imagine it made you a bit more disciplined, didn't it?
100 times, because I went there as sort of a little rude boy. I mean, and I thought I was like the toughest guy in the world. And sort of 16, 17, I thought, yeah, I'm the main man. And you get there and you realize pretty quick that you're not. So it is kind of it makes you work hard and think, and everyone's kind of driven and everyone wants to compete, so you get pushed. Whereas in normal life, everyone's doing different things. Whereas there, everyone wants to be the best, so you're all competing, you're all pushing. So yeah, discipline-wise, it was fantastic. 100%. It was really, really good, and it helps with it. It helps in little life and business and everything else. It helps to this day. Even now, it helps. So can't knock it at all.
Got a question, Dwaine. Jamie says, "Where's the best place you visited in the army?"
Probably Malaysia. Probably Malaysia was good. Malaysia was good in terms of fun, yeah, because other places are not as fun as that. So yeah, in terms of fun, yeah, Malaysia, we went there for like 6 weeks. So a lot of time in the army, you get to do adventurous stuff. So it's not always about war. You can go away and do a little bit of work. We can also have time to yourself. So yeah, Malaysia was probably good. Brunei was another good one in the jungle. It's quite a few. Germany was okay. Falklands was really good. But yeah, there's loads. We literally, to the point I was traveling every probably 6, 7 weeks. We were traveling, and it was at a time you're thinking, I don't want to fly again. Whereas now it's like now I have to pay for it. I miss it, but at the time I was like, where are we going? Oh God, I've just come back, but yeah, I miss it now.
Brilliant.
Wow. So you bought your first house in 18 while you was still in the army?
Yeah. So I was in the army, and that was my first sort of. I had jobs before, so I had paper rounds and part-time jobs and washing cars and anything just to get sort of pocket money. That was my first sort of proper salary. And in the army, the good thing is that while you're training, they pay you while you train. So it's not the best wage, but you're still getting paid. And your sort of rent, food, everything else comes out before you get paid. So what you get is sort of disposable income. So a lot of guys would obviously go and buy stupid stuff and cars and waste. And I was like, no, this needs to be a time where I can make a difference. So I just saved. Bought the first house at 18, and I just kept going and going. So the army was beneficial to that. It did help a lot. But yeah, a lot of the guys just waste it. It's mad. Call it, well, in the army they call it like millionaires weekend. So the guys get paid, and because that money is disposable, they go out and buy champagne and go and party, and then by week 2 they've got no money left. So I was like, no, that's not going to be the way for me. So I just kind of I'd go out and drink water all night or drink Red Bull, and then just save and then work towards my goals that way.
Did you find people always coming to you to borrow money from you?
Yeah, so it's technically it's not allowed. We're not allowed to do that, but yeah, it does happen.
Wow.
So people will say, like, lend me money to pay there, and people do it. We're not allowed to. I never did it, obviously. But yeah, it happens. Obviously, people spend all their money on the skin, so just say, oh, lend me money to pay there. But obviously, the rates that you charge are astronomical. So yeah, but yeah, it happens a lot. It does happen a lot. But they come to me more for advice and say, well, how can I do this? How can I improve? And I'm like, well, stop spending £1,000 on a weekend. That's the first thing you can do. So again, they always came to me and asked for advice, and then hopefully I can, rather than lending them money, I'd rather give them advice and say, right, change this, change that. So it's like early on, because if I lend you money, then next month you've got to pay me back and you've got less money now. So it's kind of a spiral, and I'm not helping you. So I'd rather say, well, do you know what? Let's sit down together. Let's figure out a way you can kind of get yourself out of trouble. Is a better method to it.
But how do you say that to somebody? How do you, without being, if it's like a close member of family, how do you say, no, and, I'm going to do you a plan instead? Just give me the plan.
Yeah, it's easy if they ask you for help. So if someone asks me for help, then I'll obviously have a conversation. And like I said before we came on, money in our kind of community is a bit, no one wants to talk about it, no one wants to say I need help, no one wants to say all these sort of things. But really, if you need help, it's better to say rather than getting deeper and deeper into trouble. So normally I would just help them and say, well, if you don't change this, the end result is going to be this. Right now, you're spending more than you earn. If you carry on this path, there's only one outcome. So, and once people realize that, and they have to make change. So it's not a matter of me convincing you. It's just showing you that what's going to happen if you don't, and where you're going to end up. And then people kind of come around to it. And it might not be the first conversation. It might not be the first conversation. They might plant a seed and they'll go away and think about it, and then it'll be in there. So then they'll be on sort of websites looking at clothes or something, and they might think twice, like, do I need it? Yeah, okay, maybe not. So it's a slowly, and then we can work on more advanced things and kind of build your wealth rather than just getting you out of trouble. So
that actually, I just wanted to ask a question that led on from Leslie's question, and it was actually about, I was going to ask, how do you go about building your relationships with your clients then? So in terms of that relationship that you would have with them.
Yeah, so it's difficult at first with money being quite kind of a taboo subject. People don't want to open up. So I have clients who they'll say, well, I've got this. And then a week later, actually, I'm like, is that everything? They're like, yeah. And a week later, actually, there's this as well. And I'm like, is that everything? So you'll find people kind of are scared to tell everything. The first thing I let them know is everything's confidential. So even if it's husband, wife, partners, friends, whatever it is, anything you tell me in one of our meetings, your client is confidential. So that takes away a little bit of the nervous about talking about finances, because obviously it's just limited to that. And then it's just, obviously, if you've got a goal, it's best to involve a professional. If you had a court date, you'd get a lawyer. If you had something else, you'd get a professional. So something like finance, which is so complicated, even now I have to learn new stuff. People try and tackle it on their own, and it's very rare that you're going to have everything in a row and perfect and lined up. So it's just a matter of kind of having conversations, and over time, you kind of break down the barriers. And I think for my business, so I really rely on referrals. So most of my work, probably 90% is through referrals. I don't advertise. I don't do any sort of, I do a little bit of online stuff on social media, but the majority is through referrals. So do a good job for someone else, for a client, and they refer you and give you a good review. So already they've got kind of an impression of that person. You know what, he's helped my friend, he's done this, he's done that. So I've already broken down a little bit of the barrier, and then we just have long conversations. We talk, we discuss your family, your situation, and I think it's just having empathy. Like, I actually do care. Like, I actually want the best for you. So and that comes across when I'm talking to you. And I'm saying, right, how can we help your family? I'm talking about your family, your kids, and your future. Eventually, you feel like, you know what, the person, they actually do care, and I do. So it comes across, and eventually, it's to the point where people trust me.
And that's so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's wonderful that your business is built on referrals, pretty much. I think that says a lot about you and the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, I've seen a couple of your, not just saying that you have only got a couple, but I've seen a couple of your testimonials when some have said that you have helped them out of debt, and some who said you've helped them with their mortgages and getting the best deals. Can you tell us a little bit more about any of those?
Yeah, so a lot of, for example, like, mortgages are a really simple thing. So obviously I did mortgages first, but I wasn't happy. I wanted to help people in a whole overall scenario. But a mortgage is obviously one of our biggest purchases in life. So I think the client that you meet, the client who bought a house, I think it was 12 years ago, and since then he'd never checked the mortgage, never looked at it, never referred to it. So after sort of the first sort of fixed term period where you get a good rate, after that you go on to a lender's variable rate, which is always higher than the one you could get on the market or from the same lender. So when I looked at his kind of back record for like 10 years, that he'd paid too much, and it was tens of thousands of pounds that he'd overpaid. So
Wow.
he actually came to me looking to kind of invest and get more for his money. And the easiest way was, let's change your mortgage. So he saved hundreds of pounds a month just by doing that one thing. And then that money he used could go towards investing. But when I worked it out over 10 years, how much he spent, I couldn't tell him. Like, it was tens of thousands of pounds. And I was just like, I can't even let you know how much money you've wasted. But a simple thing of tracking your finances, tracking your spending. If you've got loans, are they on the best rates? If you've got credit cards, are they on the best rate? Can you get a 0%? Can you change your mortgage around? Can you do these things? And then once you've done those sort of basics, then you've got more free income to invest towards actual goals and then create wealth. So look at the first thing is, are you in the best position that you're in right now? So all the things you've got at the minute, are they 100% okay? And invariably, it's always no. I've never met anyone who's got every single thing perfect, whether it be pension, mortgage, life insurance, critical illness, investments. There's never a person I've met who's got everything perfect. So then we build on everything else. And if you can save money, the best way for me to give you a raise or to make you more money is to save your money first. So we'll look at how we can save money, and then what can we do with that you've saved, and can we invest it and grow it, and etc. etc. So yeah, that was a good one, but it was painful to know how much money he's wasted. But hopefully he's not watching.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to know. I think you can tell.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
How do you, if somebody, you know, because like sometimes when you've got everything's working and you're paying all, so it's all working for you, and you get comfortable in that bubble.
Yeah.
So how do you start that conversation to like say, and I suppose it's that trust. It's going to go back to the same thing, because if you're in a position where you're paying all your bills and everything's fine, but then you talk to a friend and a friend says, oh, well, you can, if you move that around, but how does all that work? How do you get into all these different deals? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I think the trust element as well comes from, so it's kind of a monkey see, monkey do. So I like people who have done something before me. So if I want to learn about like karate from someone else, I'll go to to Karen, who is amazing at karate, because I know she's good at it. So it's the same thing as everyone else. If you want to learn in finance, you go to someone who knows about it. So the fact that I have qualifications and all these distinctions that show that I know what I'm talking about, that gives you a bit of peace of mind on top of the trust. So it's not only you've been referred from someone else who's told you a good job, then you've talked to me and I've seen I care about what you're saying. Then you check me out, I'm on the FCA register, I've got all these qualifications behind me, I'm still doing more now, I'm going for chartered now. So that kind of builds a trust that, you know what, this person is successful in their own right. So not only are they just a coach to tell me what to do, they've actually done it before me. So before I was qualified, I was already successful to an extent in my own right. So that kind of gives people peace of mind. So most people came to me first, well, people who said, I know you've done really well, like, can you give some tips? So that was the main sort of thing. So it's kind of leading by example, rather than just saying, do this, do that. It's like, oh, well, you've done that. How did you do it? That was more of the beginnings. And then obviously once we became qualified, the qualifications kind of speak for themselves and people listen to you. And because finances are really complicated. Like, it's so complicated. Even sometimes I'll look at a case and I'm like, oh, God, this is hard work. So how can a person who's just been through a normal life into school where it's never taught algebra but never taught finance, and then you go on and you get out working, and we're all taught to be busy earning money. So we're all programmed to earn money, earn, but not to look after it and invest it. Yeah. And I'm going a bit of a kind of digressing now, but if you've got a goal that you're working towards and you're earning towards, but once you've earned that money, the money should also work towards the goal. You shouldn't earn that money and put it down and let it sit there and be lazy. The money should also be working for you. So while you're working towards your goal, your money is also invested in something that's also working towards. So you're trying to get the best from every angle. And when people realize that, then they realize, you know what, I need to start now. So yeah, it just seems natural. But to answer the question, when I first started, I was a bit nervous about it. I was like, I talked to one and I said, so what do you earn? And I feel like there's a bit awkward pause, and because people are like, I earn this, and it was kind of but now, if you book a meeting with me, we're going to cover off, and I'll let you know in an email in advance, we're going to cover off your earnings, your pension, what's in place, like, we're going to cover everything. So you've got a little bit of a notice before you come to the meeting what we're going to talk about, so it gives you a little bit of peace of mind, but it becomes easy now. It's just second nature.
We've got a question for you, Dwaine, and this is close to my heart, as you already know, and it's about young people and finance. So Alvanique, I hope I've pronounced her name correctly. That's a beautiful name, by the way. And she says, I do find that in the UK, finance management is not encouraged from an early age. Have you found that? I mean, I think we kind of know that, but.
Yeah, so like I say on my presentation, I think you watched the last one, it's a huge gap. So kids are taught about algebra, but not APR, which I've left school now many years ago, and I've never used algebra once since, but interest rates and how money works, I've used it every single day. So to me, the fact that kids are not taught about simple money management, and how loans work and how debt works and all these more and how it can work, to me is baffling. I can't, for the life of me, I can't comprehend it. So if kids can know that from an early age, have a massive impact. So the amount of people, I do a lot of mortgages, the amount of people that come to me who are quite young and say, right, I've got a deposit now, I've got a good job, I'm gonna buy my first house, and I have to say, well, do you know when you was 2 years ago, you didn't pay a bill? I'm sorry, but you can't get a mortgage now because you haven't been educated about what the effects are. So when you're younger, you think, you know what, I've got a phone contract, I won't pay, just leave it, I'll just ignore it, what they're gonna do. Because you're young, you've got that attitude, but now, later on, when you're going for something serious in life, that has a massive effect on you. So it's telling young people that be careful with money. As soon as you have money, protect your credit rating, protect the money, and try and get yourself in the best position that you can possibly get yourself in. So for me as an investor, my credit was like gold. I couldn't afford to miss a payment. I couldn't afford to have any CCJs or anything. So if someone got me a letter saying I owe this, I'm like, you know what, I'll pay it and ask you later because I can't afford to have any marks on my credit because I need it to be able to do what I'm doing. So young people have to be educated on the really important things of investing early, taking care of your credit, budgeting, not wasting money on silly things, and much more. So yeah, it is shocking. It should be in schools, but really hopefully it will change. Hopefully it will change.
I think, you know, when I've spoken to Dwaine before, we've talked about how we can look at bringing that into schools and into the young people that I work with, because so I had a young boy the other day who last year actually, who I helped, supported him through his GCSEs. He passed his maths, right, and he's like, Miss, I've got maths, I've got my maths GCSE, but I don't know how to open a bank account. I don't understand anything about savings. I spoke to Olivia, my daughter, the other day about how credit cards work, and she was like, you pay interest, Mum. I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, I thought you just borrowed it and then you paid it back when you wanted to. No. You know, so they have no clue. So what you're doing, Dwaine, and the few people on the Facebook Live are saying exactly the same thing, that it's so important for our children to understand how to manage money, because then a lot of us, particularly like me, you know, wouldn't get to that stage where you're managing it fairly badly.
But you're young, you've got time. But the younger you start, the better you are. So I've got one client who's 17, and he just opened he got his first job. He's kind of apprenticeship, got his first job. He's opened like a junior ISA and he's saving now and investing a portion of his wage. I've told him I'm going to keep it at that. So if you earn more, you can invest more, and so on and so on.
Wow. And
from that age, if he carries on, it's not an issue of will he be wealthy or not. It's when he will be a wealthy individual. If he carries on investing at that rate, he will be wealthy. There's no kind of ifs or buts. Do you know what I mean? It's just guaranteed. So if people can do that and start from early, then yeah, it's a massive difference. A massive difference.
Brilliant.
Because I was gonna.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I was gonna. I think you've probably answered some of that already. But you know, I think, you know, when we are looking for a financial advisor, what sort of questions should we be asking?
That's a good question.
You know.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier on the FCA. So the FCA, everyone should all be on the FCA register. So they're the kind of governing body who will check everyone who works in finance, and they'll do background checks, they'll do criminal checks, they'll do all sorts of. They even check our investments, our bank accounts. So they'll look in to see if not if we're successful, but if we're managing our finances well. Because if my finances are terrible, I can't advise someone else. So they actually check our finances and do all sorts of really in depth. And then you get a number, which is your company or number for individual. So you can ask for that, and you can go on, type it in, it brings all the information. So make sure you're working with someone who is kind of been background checked and who is qualified. They're the main important things. And then secondly, people like me, so I do free meetings. So my first meeting with someone is always free. So we can always have a chat and get to know people. And you have to like your advisor. If you don't like your advisor, because it's an ongoing relationship. So once you're my client, I'll speak to you every 6 months, every year. We'll have a meeting. In between that, there'll be phone calls, there'll be emails, there'll be conversations, I'll keep you updated on the market and changes. So if we don't get on and we've got a 50-year working relationship, it's not going to be ideal. So luckily for me, I've got my own business. So if I don't like someone, I won't work with them. But it's vice versa. If you don't like the advisor, it's not going to be a good fit for 50 years ahead, because ideally, because I'm quite on the younger side, I can be there for your whole journey. So from investing up to pension, taking your pension, they can be there with you and help you along the way, and then your kids and so on. So yeah, we're able to trust and communicate a huge thing. So I think that's why for me the referrals work so well, rather than someone cold calling me and saying, oh, how like if someone said, you know what, you did a great job for me, that's right. So yeah, I would talk to people that you know, get referrals, check that they're qualified, check them on the register, and yeah, most importantly, make sure you like them and they're telling you the right things and they're smart as me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
That's just a quality that's in the genes about that little thing about Anyway, I have a question. So Jamie Lynch has asked, what's the youngest age you work with? What's the youngest age you work with?
There's no limit. So the 17-year-old, the youngest you can invest on your own behalf is sort of 17. You can open and put your own investment account, but if it's younger than that, the parents can do it, and that's what a lot of people do. So and it's really beneficial. So I did a starting presentation a few before about saving like sort of a small amount for a kid when they're born. Just put a small amount away, because in life, if they're going to get married or have a house, or as parents, you want to be able to, you know what, I'll give you a help for deposit, or if I'm able to, I'll help you get married, or things that parents want to be able to do. But at that time, your finances might not be in a position to be able to give 20 grand or 15 grand just like that. But if you started when the child was born and you put in sort of 50 quid a week, or 50 quid a month, a tiny amount over time, that will grow to tens of thousands of pounds. Never mind the investment on top of that. So that's the easier way, rather than saying, oh, mum or dad, I need some money for deposit. Oh God, how am I going to find 15 grand now? Do you know what? It's sat down, it's already there, it's been growing. And the time that you do it over will mean you've got to invest less. So rather than you putting down the 15 grand or 20 grand, whatever it may be, the investment has grown by that. So you put a small amount in, and 15, 20 years of growth has helped you provide for your kids. So that's there's no limit to age. So yeah, from birth you can open investments, as long as the parents are doing it, or grandparents can do it as well.
Because you can get that like compound
interest.
And if you're starting young, really early on,
massive. So that's one of the key things that people have to understand. Compound interest, the eighth wonder of the world. It's amazing. It's basically money that you've earned by investing, making more money. So money you never had is now working for you. So if you earned £100, and you put it in an investment, then it went to 120. That £20 that you never had is now earning more. And it obviously, the longer that goes on, it multiplies and multiplies, and it becomes vast amounts of money. And it's a lot easier than trying to just save a big amount. So yeah, compound interest is key. And the earlier you start, it's much more powerful. So yeah, I have kids with pensions at 5 and ISAs and stuff. So it's really powerful.
Wow.
Look at Marcy getting all financially literate about your compound.
Actually, Dwaine, I need to make an appointment with you. I need to sort my...
Yeah, no problem.
Well, Dwaine, you speak to your cousin, because Olivia's got a really good way, because she saves, I pay some money into her savings account.
Yeah.
And, but whenever she wants to buy anything now, she still wants to negotiate with me. Mum, I'm like, so what about your money? But I'm saving that. I'm like,
clever girl.
Yeah, she's smart. So,
Jamie Lynch is really on one now with the kids thing, I think, because we've had this conversation. So she wants to know, I think she's got something going on here, Dwaine. We might need to do some work with Jamie. Do you do
definitely
young children?
You do what? Sorry, I missed that.
Workshops for young children.
Yeah, so it's something that we're obviously, me and you are working on and starting to work with school. So it's something that we're going to start to look at, and I'm wanting to create a game, but it's quite difficult to keep kids of different ages entertained long enough. So I'm still trying to figure out how to do it and not have kids running around screaming. But yeah, it's something that I'm working on. But I think with Karen, with your kind of nudge on young kids, I'll probably work with you a lot, and you'll help me on the keeping them entertained part, and I'll probably bring the finance side of it, and together we'll get something together. So yeah, it's in the pipeline, it's coming, because it's massive, it's huge.
It's really huge. So Jamie, what I'll say to you, Jamie, is that when we start those sessions, we will include Miles and Ruben and Amelia as well, so you don't need to worry. Work on those three actually, Dwaine, and they're quite good kids.
100%.
So how does somebody get out of debt? How do you get out of debt? So because I used to do some work with step change, and so writing everything down, but it takes such a long time. How do you do that?
Yeah, so debt is a difficult one. It's very individual. So first of all, we have to discuss why you're in debt. So is it kind of an addiction to spending? Is it something that you do on an impulse? Or so we kind of look at what are the reasons behind it. Some are just simple. You spend more than you earn, so stop it. Some are more complicated. Some might have emotional things that are tied to it. They might have things that they've had hard times in life. So it's not kind of a one size fits all approach for everyone. Everyone is different, but the generic stuff would be, if you've got a debt, is it on the best rate? Can you move it to a better rate? So for example, credit card debt, if you're outside of your 0% period, can you do a balance transfer, get onto a 0% card and then pay off more? So there's little things you can do generically, but in terms of everyone individually, it depends on what the causes are. Because some people, it could be tough love and saying, just stop being ridiculous. Why did you buy this? That was pointless, and trying to educate. Some people, it might be, well, it's an emotion, it's a trauma, and it's compulsive. Or some people like, not much of names, love shoes or clothes. So that's a little bit harder. But yeah, everyone is kind of an individual. But it is about budgeting, looking at what you earn and looking at what you spend, and then just going through and realizing what. Because a lot of times, if you go through your account and look what you spend, you're like, I spent so how much have I spent here and there? Oh my god, adds up at the end of the month. So you're looking and think, how's that even happened? Normally with clients, I'll look at one of the first calls. We'll go through income and expenditure, and we'll go through it all, and I'll say, right, so you've got a grand spare month. And they're like, no, I can't have. And I'm like, you must have. They're like, no, okay, there's something else. And then, so there's all little things that they're not even aware of, that maybe they don't need. And gym membership, if you're not going to the gym, and all different things, that look at it all and then see. But trying to make sure you're paying the best rate is paramount. So if it's a mortgage, is it the best rate? Can you move to another lender? Can you remortgage for a better amount? If it's a large debt, if it's the right for you, could you add it to your mortgage and pay a lower interest rate? There's a lot of different things you can look at, but it's very individual. It depends on the amount, how much you earn, and the situation and the reasons behind it. But there are ways that you can definitely help, 100%. But again, the biggest way of helping with debt is prevention. So again, with the kids, the best way is trying to prevent it and trying to know how money works. A lot of people, just like Olivia said, I just spend a credit card and realize, oh my God, I've got a bill. What? I thought that was free money, and it spirals, and then you don't pay it, and it spirals and gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then before you know it, it's overwhelming. So yeah, education is key.
Yeah. But like
you mentioned,
sorry. At the moment,
no, go ahead, Leslie. Go ahead.
At the moment now, we're living in this climate where people are losing their jobs and they've got everything organized. How can they keep on top of those bills?
Yes, it's very difficult. So really, it comes down to, I think everyone now, like why I've been so busy, is seeing that things can happen. So nobody thought that we'd ever be a sort of 3 months where we'd never work or never be at school. No one thought about that. So even before that, my job was to talk to people and say, well, okay, we've got this perfect plan. So you want to retire in the Bahamas. We need to get you 100 grand investment. We need to do all this. That's all perfect and rosy, and that's fantastic. But after we've done that, then I have to underpin it. So as a financial advisor, I'll look and say, well, okay, well, what if you got cancer and you couldn't work for 3 years? Then what happens? What do we put in place to keep your goal going on? So it's about having that plan A, which is a perfect plan, and then underpinning it. So looking at every scenario, if you lost your job, how would you pay the mortgage? So then do we put insurance in place? Do we put savings in place? Is it an investment that you can get access to? But we make sure that every eventuality, whether it's death, and it's awful to talk about, but that's what I have to do. If it's death, would your family be okay? So if you're kind of a 2-income family and one partner will pass away tomorrow, would everything be okay? Is the mortgage protected? Is the other partner going to be okay? The kid's going to be okay? Is there an inheritance? So there's always so many different areas. But once you've got a full plan, then you've got much more chance of surviving something like this because you prepared for it. So you've got an emergency fund set aside. You've got some investments that are liquid that you can get to if you need to. You've got insurances in place if you're off work that pay you a salary. So you've got all them things in place, which help. The only downside is if it's happened now, it's too late. So if you've kind of not put things in place and then you're out of work or then you become sick or then it's too late then. So it is trying to, again, educate people and say, right, what happens if, and everyone always thinks, what happened to me? Now, if you look at the stats of cancer and critical illness, they're huge. So I think it's like 1 in 2 with cancer at some point in our life. So it's not kind of if, for most people, it's going to be when. In the family, someone's going to get it. And how do we kind of plan for that? What do we put in place? So a lot of time it's insurances and protection and those sort of things that are really important, because I've seen people, I had a client who came to me after a stroke, and like certain people, it's heartbreaking. He had no insurance in place. they haven't worked for 2 years, now they can't work again for however long, and the bills are piling up, the mortgage can't get paid. And it is heartbreaking, where I just think, if you'd come to me 6 months earlier, when we put that in place, right now you'd a payout, you'd be fine, you'd have time to rehabilitate. So it is a scary thing. So as nice as it is in my job planning for the best, I also have to make sure that you've planned and protected for the worst. And that's the bit of a side that people get a bit awkward talking about. And I say to someone like, if you die, what happened? And they're like, oh my God, don't say that. But I'm like, well, we have to, it happens.
The reality, isn't it?
100%, yeah.
I've got a question for you. Oh, someone's got a sad face or angry face here, but just to link on to what you were saying, Dwaine, so I think most people on Facebook, my Facebook, certainly Marty's, know about my situation, but the critical illness, there are times when we argue about how much we pay for insurance, right? Oh, they're taking all this insurance and nothing happened. Well, critical insurance saved our lives when Michael got really ill. Because without it, we wouldn't have coped. So, you know, I had to leave my job. Michael's business folded. We had nothing, but our critical insurance kicked in and we were like, wow, actually, we are fine. I didn't have to work for 2 years. So that is, so people, please speak to Dwaine. So Alvanique says, what are your thoughts, Dwaine, on bank accounts like Go Henry for children? Are they worth it?
Yeah, I think they're a good tool to kind of teach kids about money. So they are good. So you give them allowance and you can let them save, and they are good. I think it will be a supplement onto kind of an actual investment account, because obviously the issue with cash is it's never invested. It's just sat there, and inflation eats away at the value of it. So your money in an account is just always going down. So Go Henry and those sort of cards are great as an education piece, but that wouldn't be the financial plan for that kid. So you might say, you know what, I'm going to invest 20 quid a month, 50 quid a month for the child, and then I'll do something else, a couple of pounds on a Go Henry card, just to teach them how to invest. So yeah, it's more of an education tool rather than an actual way to save for the child, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Problem.
Wow.
Anything else?
Yeah, wow, this is just like so interesting, you know.
It's actually making my head hurt because I'm so scared. But anyway.
But that's part of the job, is like kind of, there's no point kind of just living long and thinking everything will be okay, it'll be okay. And like you said, when it's not, you'll wish you had things in place. And I've had clients on both sides. I've had clients who have had like yourself, had insurance in place and it's saved their life without doubt, and it's kept the house and it's kept this. And clients who have either complained about paying it and cancelled it or not got it because of this. And it's like, it's your own risk. But because if we all think really truly, if we were to get critical illness, then your partner's off work as well to take care of you, how long before you can stop paying a mortgage? How long before your savings are run out? How long before you're really in serious trouble that you can't come back from? And if you lose the house, you get repossessed, you never buy another house again. So it's most people not more than 6 months away from being really in dire trouble. So again, we have to put things in place. So it's like a climber. As climbers climb higher, they put things in place. So if they fall, it kind of catches you. So finance is the same thing. We want to build your wealth. There's no point building your wealth if something happens, you've got to spend it all to take care of you. So we want to build your wealth and then put things in place to kind of be a safety net if you fall, that can catch you and keep you on track.
Yeah.
One of the things you mentioned earlier, and you were talking about the different reasons why people might be in debt, you know, like some people might just be big spenders, you know, and they probably just haven't thought things through properly. And on the other hand, it could be, you know, an emotional reason why they, you know, are in debt or whatever. I'm really interested in that. So how, let's say somebody did have, it was an emotional thing that was causing the debt. How would you deal with that? What would be in place for that? How
I think with people, it's very difficult. So I never tell you what to do.
Right.
I'll give you my advice, and I'll give you the downside of, if you don't take my advice, this is what will happen. So we'll create scenarios. So I might say, well, okay, I get why you're doing it and sort of thing, but really it's going to make your situation worse. So if it's an emotion thing, how are you going to feel? We'll talk about the emotions. So how are you going to feel when the beggars come knocking at your door? That's going to make your situation 10 times worse. 10 times worse. If you get evicted, that's going to make your emotions even worse. So you're going to spiral down to a point where maybe you feel bad now, but you're going to feel, if that happens, you're going to feel worse. And most people don't think about the future. They think about another red letter, I'll just ignore it. Do you know what I mean? I'll just ignore it. I'm not sure if you've seen on BBC, is a film or like a drama series about a young boy. It's a true story. It's called Killed by My Debt. And that was sort of thing that he did. He put his head in the sand, ignored letters, and it just got to the point where he was so depressed and so and upset. He, in the end, he killed himself. And that's the thing we want to avoid. I think I mentioned in my presentation that Karen watched before, young Black boys and men are the most highest risk for suicide. So our community are the ones at the most highest risk, and the link between suicide and debt and finances is massive. So again, we need to try and do that. But yeah, it's just showing people, if you don't change your ways, and you're going to end up worse than you are now. So it's hoping they kind of realize. I can't force you to realize it and stop what you're doing. I can illustrate to you what's going to happen if you don't. I can illustrate to you how we can take small steps and get you in a better position. At the end of the day, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So it's just down to the person to realize and change. But most of the time, I don't do a lot of that. Most of the time when people see the scenario, then they're like, oh my gosh. So I'll tell them, you've got this loan here, you've got this mortgage, you've got that, and there's two of you. If you passed away, your wife couldn't pay that. She'd be left with two kids and she couldn't pay that. So then they'll be like, oh my God, yeah, I never thought about that. So once they realize the consequence, then they're like, oh, actually, okay. And what else? Well, if you were sick, how would you cope? Oh my God. So people normally tend to realize it when they kind of put it to them in terms that are personal. What if, because it's okay saying, oh, someone died today on the news, but that doesn't really affect you as much, because it's not you. If I say, Marcia, tomorrow if you died, how would your family cope? That kind of hits you a bit more like, oh God, yeah, okay, and you're thinking about yourself. So yeah, it's just making it personal and making you realize I need to sort my finances out.
Yeah. And the other thing as well is that there was this myth that if somebody died, the debt went with them.
Unfortunately not, no.
Yeah.
So it's a debt on your estate. So the debt was debt on your estate. So anything you might think, oh, I've built up this inheritance for my kids, or I've got a savings account. No, that's going to go all to the debt. So that's the thing as well. A lot of people, when you're in sort of young to middle life, and if they do have kids, they haven't had time to build up, to pay their own mortgage and pay their own savings and have an inheritance for kids. It's just a long time to build that sort of wealth. So what a lot of people do is they'll put insurance in place. You know what? If I die before 60, I've got a policy of 200 grand. That's my kids' insurance. That's my kids' inheritance, or whatever it may be. Do you know what I mean? So that's what they do, because if you don't, your debt doesn't die. Your debt will just get paid off first, so that your debt, the tax man, all everything's get paid off first, and then whatever's left will go. So yeah, we need to kind of think about that. And it can be the case if you're leaving debt behind to people. If you bought a house with your partner and it's both of you, now he's got that one debt on it by himself, it can be a struggle. I mean, so we need to definitely look at how we put things in place to protect against that.
Yeah,
that's all the gloomy stuff. Really, we want to build wealth and create, and create freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. But
the real key is having financial freedom. So getting to the point where we don't have to work. We work because we enjoy it. Work because we're helping people. We don't have to physically go to work to earn money to pay the bills next month. We want to get to a point where we're kind of a bit freer. We've got a little bit of breathing space, and it's a much nicer life to live.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
Thank you.
That would be really nice.
It's doable. It's doable, but it's action early. It's taking action early as you can.
Yeah.
When I saw you on a webinar on the Black Success Initiative Network, you seem to suggest there might be a difference in terms of how us as Black people manage and talk about money to others. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I think in terms of our community, it's even more. So British people in general are closed off about money. In our community, it's even more closed off, because we all want to. I think people want to appear successful rather than actually achieve success. So they'd rather look nice and have a nice car and do nice things, rather than actually kind of control the finances and do things that are going to put you in the right place. So again, I keep saying the same thing, but it is education of ourselves. And because I mentioned in that webinar, there's an ethnic pay gap, there's an ethnic wealth gap. So on average, Black Caribbean households are 3.2 times less wealthy than the equivalent white household, which is a massive gap, and it shouldn't be there. And we get paid less. Again, it shouldn't happen. But while the government and sort of laws change, and hopefully that gets eradicated, but in the meantime, we need to shut that gap on our own and do things that we are in control of. Do you know what I mean? Try and close that gap and get us to a level playing field. So, but it's not just the community. I think it's a reflection of the industry as well, because as mentioned earlier on, the industry is very, very non-diverse. So the amount of Black financial advisors qualified financial advisor is very, 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 very minimal. I know one other, and he's about 200 miles away. So it's a very, very kind of a white, middle class, older sort of man's world, that kind of old boy sort of club. So we don't see anyone that we can relate to as such. So it becomes more of like, well, you know, I'm not going to do that. Whereas if we had in our community, everyone knows a plumber or electrician we can talk about. We all know someone, but a financial advisor, no one really has a friend who does that also. If we can kind of get more into the industry and involve ourselves more, then it helps the people. So like, for example, me now doing these sort of things and talking to people in my community, they feel empowered to actually, he came from the same area I came from. He didn't come from a rich background, but he's done well. I can talk to him because he's like me, rather than seeing the average advisor who is 55 years old, you know, white guy. It's a bit of a harder person to relate to in terms of going to see him and taking advice and having trust as well, thinking they're going to rip me off.
Really.
So, yeah.
Zena loves your point about being able to work just because we want to, not because we have to.
Yes, huge.
That's the goal, ideally. So
100%.
Indeed.
That would be so nice. Yeah, that's definitely my goal.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just, you know, like if you've got, what would be the best investments for people?
Ooh.
You know, if you've got your property already, you know, because you said you've got some stocks and shares, and so what would be the best investments?
I'm going to upset you here because there's no single best investment. So when I advise someone, it's personal to you. So it depends on your attitude towards risk. It depends on how much spare income you've got, how much money. It's a very subjective thing. So if I advise someone, like, for example, Karen might say, you know what, I hate risk. I want to keep my money safe. I don't want to risk it. I want a little bit of growth. But Leslie, you could say, do you know what? I'm a risk taker. I love living on the edge. Like, let's go for it. So the investments that I'd advise you to do will be two totally different investments. Depends on what. So really, that's why we sit and have a conversation about your situation, your attitude towards risk, and what your goals are as well. So your goals could be totally different. So depending on what your goals are, that's where you would lean to invest. So yeah, I know it's not the answer you wanted. You wanted like a horse pickup, like this is what you go and get, and it'll make you rich tomorrow. But
do it now.
There's no like golden bullet of like this is the perfect thing for everyone. It's just what fits you the best. So for someone, something could be perfect, and for someone else, it could not make any sense. So that's why you get professional advice, because they're going to look at all the different scenarios. And there's loads of things, for example, like tax. Two of you could be one of you could be a taxpayer at a basic rate. One could be a higher taxpayer. So if you're a higher taxpayer, my advice to you to invest would be different, because we want to look at how we can minimize tax or use tax as a benefit to you. So it totally depends on your situation. So I'm sorry, but there's no one size fits all really. The one size fits all is to invest. It doesn't matter what it is. It's to start early and invest, rather than having money sat in an account for years and years and years and it's losing value. So yeah, there's a golden bullet, and it start early.
So it's not a good thing then just to leave your savings in a bank account?
No, it's terrible. It's the worst thing you can do.
Wow. Why is it?
I'll give you 100%. So I'll give you an illustration. So I try and make it short as I can. So inflation is the value of things. So the value of shopping and paying your mortgage and those sort of things. So it's measured every year. It's meant to go up by 2%, 2.5%. So if it goes below that, the government will do things to push prices up. So they'll cut interest rates and they'll do stuff. If it goes higher than that, they'll do things. So the government wants it to be at 2%, 2.5% is the cost of things going up. So if you've got 10 grand in the account for 10 years, and every year the cost of things go up by 2.5%, at the end of those 10 years, your 10 grand, it still says 10 grand in your account, but you can't buy 10 grand worth of goods anymore, because the price of everything's gone up, but your money stayed the same. So really, it's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom, because you're always losing money all the time. So the idea is you would have liquid or cash available to sustain you for 6 months, 3 months, so that the savings account in cash. After that, you want to be invested. You want growth over time. So yeah, people come to me and like, oh, I've had this money saved for 10 years, and I'm just like, oh, you've lost money. So yeah, saving and that's the thing we all taught, get a good job, spend less than you earn, save, and you'll be fine. But that's not really a financial plan. It's just saving, spending, and you're losing out. So really, you want to, the number one thing you have to do, even if you're a low risk person, is mitigate the risk of inflation. That's the number one thing you have to do, even as a minimum, is mitigate the risk of inflation, which is the cost of things going up. So that's the number one. So yeah, savings are not great, to be honest.
Because don't they use the savings, the bank, So like if you had the 10 grand saved, the bank
They'll lend it
will then invest it or lend it out with the higher interest rate. So they will make
100%.
money on your
100%.
saving.
So yeah, that's the idea of being kind of financially literate. If you know how money works, like same thing about compound interest. If you know how money works, they say you earn it. If you don't know how money works, you pay it. So yeah, the bank's paying you 0% for your savings and lending it out at 6-7% and making money off your money. But you could be doing that. So why would you put money in a savings account to make the bank money when you could invest it yourself and you make the money? But it's just because of financial literacy. People don't understand the idea of the bank's there thinking, yeah, give me all your money, save it with me, no problem. They'll lend it out to people, charge a fortune, and give you back the same amount, which is obviously is ridiculous. So you have to do it yourself and invest. And the good thing is, investing is for all people. So there's like I said, there's categories of low risk where maybe you won't make a massive amount, but your money's safe and you can sleep at night. And then people who are a bit more like me, who are more entrepreneurial and risky, there's higher risk things where it will go up and down, but it will lead to a longer or better return, hopefully. But there's something for everyone. So I have people who are like, you know what, can't lose money. I'm like, okay, we can still work with that. But you are losing money. If your money's in an account saving, you're already losing because of inflation. So you have to invest to at least keep the money at the same buying power.
So interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Michael is very much stocks and shares in this, and I'm like, no, not interested. That's not for me. Wait, if I saw my money going down, I'd cry, but it's actually doing it anyway. I just don't see it. Right?
Exactly, that's the issue. Yeah, that's why you have to realize how it works, because it's going down every day.
Yeah.
The numbers stay the same, but what it can buy is going down every day. So you have to put something in place. Otherwise, like I say, trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom, and it's a difficult task.
Wow. So I need to... We've all learned something here today.
I've got one last question, Dwaine. I haven't been like stalking or anything, but so on your Instagram the other day, I saw something where I think since I heard you talk on the Black Success webinar, I've been like, wow, this looks like really but you posted something about your dad and a little picture of you when you were little on the beach with your dad, and you talked about how much he'd like influenced you.
Yeah, massively. So I think, like I said before, people learn best from example. So my dad wasn't the biggest talker of telling me what to do. He would just show me stuff. So it wasn't like he would say, do this, do that, but I just learned from what he did. So I never saw him not work, or he'd work crazy hours, he'd work really hard. He'd be frugal, a little bit, for my liking, a bit too frugal with his money, but it laid the foundations for me to realize that, okay, do you know what? I shouldn't be going out and waste this, because my dad would buy the same shoes 5 years in a row. I mean, he'd buy the same pair. And I'm like, Dad, to get some better. No, this is all I need. And so he was very industrious, but he came from Jamaica, so he was very, very poor. So they see money as a very different thing. It was kind of sacred. They never waste it. So he taught me a lot in terms of work ethic. Both my parents, my mum as well. They both worked really, really hard. They both sacrificed to kind of give me a head start, which was obviously fantastic. And the knowledge that they gave me was just huge about respecting money and working hard is the number one thing. And I think a few of the things that kind of stand out are just like never give up and determination and never let things get in the way. So I think I mentioned earlier on about the industry is really non-diverse, but my dad always told me, listen, never let race get in the way. You might have to be better, you might have to work harder, but then just do it. Don't ever come to me and say, I didn't get it because I was black. I don't want to hear that. You be better, you work harder. And that was the case. So even when I went towards this industry and I was like, oh my God, my face might not fit. I could do all this work and then people won't come to me. They won't trust me with the money, because it's a lot of trust involved. So I thought, what if not necessarily racist, but they won't trust me as a young black guy to invest all their money. And I was thinking back to my dad and I was like, oh, I'm never going to let race get in the way. If I'm the most qualified and I'm the smartest and I've done well myself, that it will work. And it has. So I think that was a huge thing. That he taught me was just get on with it, work hard. And the army kind of compounded that. I had the same thing in the army. I thought, oh, it's going to be a nightmare, and it wasn't. And you just work hard, keep going, push through. Any obstacle, you just get through it. There'll be always ups and downs in life and investing, but as long as you just keep going, stay strong, you'll win. That's it.
Nice one. We've got a nice comment here from Keisha. She says, you need to always remember this, Dwaine. She says, everyone needs a little Dwaine in their pocket.
Oh, I like that.
That's good. Yeah, 100%. I'll get out and say, don't buy that. But jokes aside, like you said about having nice things, I want to just clarify, a plan is never about don't spend on nice things. If you enjoy nice things, we build it into your plan. So I have a couple who are retiring in a couple of years, and their thing was, you know what, we need to have 2 holidays to the Caribbean every year. That's our thing. Like, so it wasn't about just saving. It's like, right, okay, well, that's what they did. They invested a lump sum amount that would pay out every year enough to pay for their holidays. So rather than having their savings, because they thought we're gonna run out of money, so we invested it, and the interest that they earn or the profit they earn pays for their holidays. So it's never a case of don't do nice things. It's just plan for those nice things so they can fly away twice a year and do the things they want to do. So yeah, we all incorporate that into a plan. So it's never. Some people think, I want to see, because they'll just say don't spend, I want to spend, but no, it's not never that. We all like nice things. I like nice things, so we just put it into your plan.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. I'm definitely doing that. That's brilliant. Have we got any more questions? Or
I think I've covered all that. Someone's so Paula Taylor, she said earlier on, she said determination gets you a long way. So it looks like that's something that certainly spurred you on, Dwaine, you know, kept going. That's a good lesson for all of us, really. Whatever we do. Jamie just wants to know how she can get in touch with Dwaine. Zena says, I love that positive influence from your family, Dwaine. Just wonderful.
Excellent.
So yeah.
Well, Dwaine, you're going to leave your comments. You're going to leave your details in the comments. So
yeah, that's perfect.
So you will all get his details at the end.
Yeah, 100%.
So I mean, I just say, you know, absolutely well done to you. Doing what you're doing and smashing it by the sounds of it.
Thank you.
I've
sat here and I have been a little bit scared and a little bit jittery because I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have bought this. And
no.
I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
No, don't cut it down. You just to make more money. That's the key. The idea is not to spend. It is at first, but we want to be successful, so we don't have to cut spending to a point where we can buy whatever we want because we've put things in place early. So now we can kind of have better fruit. You know what I mean, you've got to plant the seed first before you can sort of better fruit.
I like that balance. I like the fact that you plan for beautiful things to happen.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
nice.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah,
that's nice. So your final question is, who is your superhero?
My dad.
Oh,
so nice. Yeah,
that's so nice.
Yeah,
that's nice. And why is your dad a superhero?
Yeah, because he's a positive black role model in my life. He's always been there, always supported me. My mum as well, but obviously a superhero is more like a alpha male figure. So my mum, both my parents have always been fantastic. They've supported me, they've helped me. Even when I started to invest, I think to them it was probably like, what is this? They were kind of the same areas of people that were like, what are you doing? Kind of what, but they never said, oh, don't do it. They just kind of like, I explained to them what I want to do and why I want to do it. And this is the thing. They're like, well, you know what? You're smart. If you think it's right, we're here to support you. And they've always done that. So yeah, definitely by both my parents, but yeah.
Oh, that's really nice.
That's lovely.
That's really nice. Yeah. Well, yeah.
So we've had a few people saying how interesting they found it, Dwaine, and really proud of you. And yeah, it's been great. So
it has indeed. Yeah.
Made our audience happy. That's you kind of you're a winner.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So should we close? Are you closing, Karen?
Well, yeah, I just want to say honestly, it's fantastic. I think, like I said, what you're doing it's so needed. What I'm really looking forward to is the work that we can do together with young people, particularly in schools and even the university students that we work with. So I've actually got Dwaine on our list of guests to go into Leeds University and speak to some of the first year students about money management and maybe looking at opportunities in the financial market in terms of what they can do. So, I just see you getting bigger and bigger, really. And I'm just honestly, genuinely, I know I mess about, but I'm genuinely really proud of you. I think you're an absolute star. And
absolutely.
I'm blushing now.
Oh no, brilliant. It's been brilliant because I mean, you're so knowledgeable on this subject, which is fantastic, and lots of advice, lots of tips. So we will definitely be leaving Dwaine's comments, Dwaine's emails in the comments, okay, so you can get in touch with him. All right. Thank you so much, Dwaine.
Thank
No
you.
problem. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Really do.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much to our audience for tuning in.
Oh, yeah. See, are we on next Sunday?
We are.
Next Sunday, 5
Woo!
o'clock.
5 o'clock with our special guest.
Yeah.
Are we telling them who it is? No.
What? Do you want to tell them who it is?
Do you want to tell them who it is, Marcia?
Next week is. I think we should. I think we should do what we always do.
Okay.
Let it be a surprise.
Yes.
Ah, then cool. Oh, sorry, guys, you're not going to find out.
So you will find out on Wednesday or Thursday who
Absolutely.
special guest is.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. And in fact, let's just ask the audience a question. On the 20th of December, it's going to be our last show or Real Table Talk for the Christmas for 2020. What would you like to do on that day? What would you like us to do? Yeah, so leave your comments, leave your thoughts in the comments. Okay, thank you so much, everybody.
Okay, so Dwaine's still getting lots of hearts and things. It's been wicked.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic. Loads of information, and thank you. So nice one.
Yeah.
Woo! Excellent.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
Thanks, guys.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank
Bye.
so much.
Thanks, Dwaine.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.